Welcome back to The Grind. In this video, we're going to take a look at the new Tech Cavalier nodes for the Cavalier event quest. Now, this one has Shocking Revelation and High Voltage. It also has Fighting Dirty, so after they throw a special attack, they will go unblockable for a while unless they have a shock effect active. So the way you build up furies in this quest is every time you power drain, lock, or burn the opponent, you're going to trigger a passive shock debuff, or passive shock on the opponent. And then the way you build up your furies is every time you inflict a shock effect, or every time you throw or the opponent throws a special while there is a shock active, they're going to get one of those furies on you. So you can see we just triggered 2 shock effects. Now we have 2 furies, and that's because every time he triggers a regeneration, Warlock power drains a little bit. And so Warlock is a fantastic counter for this lane because not only does he have access in his base kit to power drain effects, he also has the special 1 that inflicts power drain and a shock debuff. So that's a double whammy. Plus he power drains on his special 3, and you can see 30 hits in, we've already built up 9, now 10 furies. And here's an example. When all the shock effects are gone, then he throws a special attack. He then becomes unblockable at the end of it. But once he has shock effects active, it doesn't refresh the unblockable effect because there was a shock effect active. So Warlock is a very efficient option for this quest, especially in certain fights where they're going to be regenerating. Hulkbuster is a ridiculous champion for these nodes as well, because every time he throws a heavy attack, he inflicts a shock debuff. This means that every single heavy attack, he's going to get another fury. And it means that he constantly can have these shock debuffs active so that when the opponent throws special attacks, they will not go unblockable at the end of the special attack, making it a little bit easier to manage. And on his special 2, he does power drain, so you can stack up lots of these passive shocks, and while they don't do damage, they can help you ramp up your furies even faster. And you can see only 23 hits in now, we're at 10 furies stacked up, and we're going to be doing some huge damage with all of our hits. Look at those 13k mediums, 14k mediums, and then some big damage on the special attacks and heavy attacks. And because I was having so much fun with Hulkbuster, I ended up using him for a majority of the fights, and you can see that, look at that, 54,000 heavy attack, and look at how many passive shocks we have built up. I did whiff a heavy attack there. You do have to be careful with spacing with Hulkbuster, but Hulkbuster is just so much fun to play, especially with the damage he can ramp up in some of these fights. And Nebula actually would be a fantastic champion for this as well. If you do happen to have her and have her ranked up, or just love playing her, this is where she would shine. And there are several tech champions that have access to shock, as well as champions that have ways to power drain or power lock that you can use, but some of them, they aren't able to access it quite as frequently, which means their ramp up would be a little bit slower, but they will still benefit from the nodes and have the ability to build up some extra damage throughout the fight. And if you find yourself struggling with this quest or a certain path or a certain fight with the champions that you have in the tech class, you can use any champion for these fights because there really isn't any node that specifically restricts the use of other champions. The only thing to consider is the unblockable effect that the opponent will get after throwing a special attack. So you might have to play a majority of the fight with the opponent unblockable unless you have really strong power control, and you can then prevent the opponent from throwing special attacks to begin with. Now, champions like Dr. Doom with great power control would also work well. Let me know what champions you use, what you think of this quest nodes, and I hope to see you in the next video.